Pledge.
I'm going to read from Romans chapter 15, verse 13. May the God of hope fill you with joy and peace as you trust in him, and that you may overflow with hope from the power of the Holy Spirit. Father, as we come to you at this time of the year to celebrate Christmas, we just give you thanks for the blessings that you share upon this community, and we give you thanks today for blessing each and every member that's in attendance here at this meeting as we conduct the business of the county and for our citizens. Father, we just ask for your guidance, for your grace, and for your presence in Jesus' name. Amen.
Well, we welcome all you today. Hope you're all well and safe and getting ready for our Christmas season. It's a wonderful time of year. This time, I'm going to surprise one of my commissioners. Lon, will you meet me up front? I have a presentation for you. Lon, thank you for the value you brought to our KAC governing board, for the strengths that help build our success, and for your commitment to each and every one of us. You are greatly appreciated. You make a difference. Thank you, the KAC staff.
Well,
So,
thank you. Yeah.
thank you for serving for us. We appreciate it.
Well, now my Christmas shopping's done because this will go to Jan. It looks like a cutting board. So,
All right. Okay, Sarah, put that thing back in there.
Let's take a couple meetings to get used to it.
Okay, gentlemen, also in my public announcement comments, we're supposed to be pushing on this button to make these mics work, and I'm going to forget that, so have patience with me. All right, do we have an agenda in front of us? Gentlemen, can we have approval?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
Bill, seconded. Thank you, sir. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Motion carried. Consent agenda.
This day, Mr. Chairman, I'll offer the motion to approve the consent agenda.
second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion has carried. Thank you. Public comment. Anybody in the room have comment that is not on our agenda? And I see our Mayor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I just wanted to say thank you for, I know as we end 2020, I know we're all excited about 2021, and I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the city and the city commission especially. Thank you for the incredible work that we did with you all this year. We're excited about the upcoming year. We're excited about how this year is finishing up. I also just wanted to say thank you for your work on, the whole COVID from the very beginning to the very end. I know in January, none of us had any idea what was about to come. But I just want to commend not only you, but also your staff, especially the health department who has went over and above. I'm very impressed with your new setup, and that we can actually hear one another. That's really great. But I just wanted to thank each and every one of you individually, especially you, Chairman Dries. I know we've had a lot of opportunities to do some good work together.
So I'll follow up today just to confirm that, but it does make sense for us to do it with ATCS.
I just wanted to say thank you so much. So anyway, on behalf of the city and the city commission, I just wanted to say thank you. We're looking forward to, as I finish out my year on mayor, we're looking forward to the new mayor coming in with a new chairman, and we're excited about working with you next year. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think the commission here in Finney County feels the same about the city. We're very pleased our working relationship, and we wish each and every one of you a Merry Christmas and God bless. Okay. On our first start up on our agenda is the Spark Grant Program update from Jeff. I see his name on my screen, so I know he's here. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. I apologize that I thought I had it on mute. It's the dreaded Zoom meeting that I think I'd done so well in all of our time together on, and just unfortunately failed.
We're not going to hold that against you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So I have a quick PowerPoint presentation for us to kind of review this morning, and thought I'd start here and then we can dive into those pieces. I think it answers some of the questions that you all had as commissioners, and some of the outstanding pieces, and talks about kind of really how well the county has done, and also some considerations for the future, if you'd like to start there. And then we can dive into the specific approvals. Does that work for you all?
Very good. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. So let me just try to share my screen here. Okay. And unfortunately, I can't share my screen. Sarah or Dory, can you allow me to share my screen?
We have a puzzled look and scurrying people.
Yep. Hold on one second. Oh, it works now. Okay. Everybody can see my screen here?
Yes, sir.
Great. So just kind of give you kind of an end of the year review, or end of the project review on what we've achieved and where we've gone. So, we started out with this is the state's funding prioritization roadmap, and they wanted us to make public institution whole, protect the health of Kansas, revitalize local business, and, build resilient communities. And I think we've achieved in every one of these aspects, and I think we'll talk about that as we go through. When we looked at also the community needs survey, back when we did that back in July, we said, okay, here are the key things: lack of funding for household support, behavioral health support, broadband access, telehealth, telemedicine, childcare, and childcare has been one of those challenging pieces as we've gone on. Support for small business and nonprofits, and then increased workforce development and job creation. I think some of the education funding that we've put in will help with that as well. So, really, we took those pieces and we created these 4 county guiding principles. Let's try to get aid where it's needed most. Let's address the gaps in the COVID-19 response. Let's set the county up for future success. And if it's eligible somewhere else, get it there. And I think that's one of the resounding successes of Finney County in the response. The KDHE grant that Colleen got for the health department, the connectivity emergency relief grant that both the county got and the city got, those 2 grants really have extended the broadband capabilities of the county significantly. And the fact that those projects were shovel ready to go was a huge thing. And I think our end results in this, we've improved educational technology. We've invested almost $2 million in educational technology, or more than $2 million, excuse me, in educational technology, getting one-to-one on devices in both school districts and really supporting the long-term infrastructure. Also, Garden City Community College, getting their network switch redone under this grant program sets them up really for future success to be able to offer more remote and better services on campus. We've enhanced the county's pandemic response efforts, really looking at some of the key pieces, getting some vehicles and technology in EMS, helping at the test site, improving the capabilities of emergency management, installing some of that IT equipment is even, some of the fiber projects has even been good. We've supported local businesses and households. I think there's still some work to be done in this area, but overall it's a strong beginning. We've laid really the strong foundation for additional things in the future. So for example, the Church of the Nazarene, the fact that we have a successfully turned on a remote learning center within that, within that church for some of your essential workers, lays the foundation for next year going after full certification as a daycare. But it meets an immediate need and then sets you up for the future. And we've done that in many ways here. And then again, that enhanced broadband at critical county facilities. So I know one of the big things was, planned budget versus actual spend. So put together these two graphics, to give you an idea. There was a little bit more shifted on reimbursement and actually removed from the county direct aid plan. So that, this increase was more reimbursement. We didn't have the school districts or the city go through one of the traditional AOR response and recovery grants. We spent a little bit more on reimbursing them directly just for costs that they had incurred. So just kind of give you an idea of where the money was spent and some of the pieces that are here. We had planned for $1 million of reimbursement. Ultimately spent 1.8 on the local end, $57,000 on the county, and then we'll talk about the contingency here in a second. The county direct aid plan dropped down. Again, this was because we were able to get some other grants and reprioritize some other dollars. The AOR grant, we saw 29 different grants for almost 2.1 million. And that, there's an asterisk here because I think within the county direct aid portion, there's a couple things to highlight. All the administrative costs are reflected in the county direct aid spend. So, whereas these numbers reflect, for example, our costs to support the county, the CVB's costs, some of the travel, training, everything else, we ended up just rolling that into the number later on, just for ease of processing and ease of use. This county direct aid number also includes the $450,000 for the juvenile detention facility and supporting their salaries, their public safety salaries, to continue that operation due to some of their pandemic challenges. All of those pieces as you're going along. The agency operational relief grant, we overspent the budget, and this was really designed. And one other thing is I should indicate that these numbers that are here are assuming the approval of what we're going to talk about in a little bit. So these actual numbers are actually a little bit lower right now. But these, just kind of giving you the heads up that these pieces, do assume the approval of the pieces we're going to talk about in a little bit. The response to recovery, we weren't able to make some grants. Some of the big grants that were here, unfortunately, the state wouldn't allow us to make because they didn't fall within the CRF rules. But we were able to make almost $1.25 million worth of grants on the response and recovery. And then the household, we made 97 grants for a total of 258,000. I think there's still some more work to be done here. And that kind of leads us into the contingency spend and something we'll talk about. As we've talked about a few times, the contingency, when we came down to the end, was to cover anything that we couldn't necessarily do in terms of a grant. And the way we were going to receive this money is use county public safety salaries and city public safety salaries and as well to receive these dollars, and they can stay within the county. We'll take the administrative accommodation allowed to us by Spark and federal treasury with CRF, and take these dollars into the county so that you can set yourselves up again for future success in 20 and in 21, and also potentially for some of those items that we couldn't necessarily get reimbursement for within the program setup, or couldn't get achieved within the unfortunate timeline constraints of this. Just kind of a quick overview of organizations that benefited. Education was far and away one of the biggest supports. Nonprofits, businesses, healthcare, mental health, local government, households, and there were some economic development numbers as well. Again, these are assuming your approval of the AOR grants that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So I know Commissioner Pishney, one of the things that we had talked about is compared to Seward County, what are the differences? I think, you'll see as we walk through, Seward was able to make a few more grants, most notably their Household Emergency Relief Program. This is based on data from November 30th. We are still going through the current data, and this, Household Emergency Relief Grant number is going to jump. And also, again, I'll note those asterisks. The program dollars are embedded here. They are not rolled up into the county costs. And they, so just to kind of give you an idea, this is kind of the breakdown between the two. You'll see, that Finney County's invested a lot more on some of the local reimbursements, but I will say in Seward, some of those dollars are integrated within the program specifically, where communities applied to those. Overall, I think success-wise, honestly, Finney County has been recognized on multiple occasions by Doug Gerber as being one of the leaders in this program. They were very pleased with how you all approached the project, how everything was delivered, how the county staff supported everything that's going on. I think one of the huge successes, again, is the concept of get it where it is. Get it where you can get it if you can't get it from Spark, because the Connectivity Emergency Relief Grant, the KDHE grant, those were huge. They added I think north of $3 million overall into the county. So that's awesome. We were able to get the additional access to the library and the fiber run, which wouldn't have happened if we hadn't gotten some of these grants. So that's awesome. The agility to respond to the changing needs of the pandemic, really meaning you were able to, as the pandemic reemerged very significantly, we were able to readjust some of the priority spends on the county end to make sure that we could more effectively respond to it and set you up for vaccination efforts in the future. Those outside dollars are huge, and the outside dollars are going to continue to come because we still have some FEMA public assistance asks out there, both on the county level. I know the city's been working with KDEM to get those pieces in, and some other agencies as well. The other thing is St. Catherine's. I wanted to shout them out. You'll see that there's been no money going to St. Catherine's within this, and that's really, it's not because they don't have a need. It's because they were able to utilize, work with their corporate structure, and the $400,000+ grant that we were going to make to them, they were able to get through other Spark related dollars, or through other CARES Act related dollars that went directly to the hospital through the Provider Relief Fund. So really I think that's a huge success, is that we were agile enough throughout the entire process that we leveraged the dollars where they came. And then but we weren't able to do everything, and I think that was understandable. When we submitted the project submitted the plan to the state on August 15th, we knew that we weren't going to be able to get everything done in 4 months. Further, we had to wait until, for some of these grant programs, and other pieces to get approved by the state before we could really launch. So our approval didn't come till early September. So we really had an even more compressed timeline. So I think, some of the big things are, things that we want to look at for the future. So, establishing some more long-term childcare solutions. Unfortunately, we looked at multiple options, and, luckily we were able to get one project going with the church that I think will really get things set up for the future. I know wage appropriate housing continues to be a challenge. And then really, I think there's going to continue to be need in households to support those impacted by the pandemic. And I think there were some needs that potentially didn't get surfaced. So, and that's not through, that's not through anybody's fault. It's, Roxanne's group did yeoman's work getting everybody that's involved. We were getting regular reviews and everything else. And some people that submitted grants, we then, were missing paperwork, literally fell off the face, the face of the earth. We tried to call them, text them, email them, reach out to them in multiple ways, and weren't able to get in touch with them. I think their need still exists, but I don't know, do they move out of the county or something else like that? But these areas will require further attention past this Spark timeline. So overall, that's, I think it was a very successful program, and for the county, and just want to have any of your questions before we jump into the specific grant items. And I hope this met your needs as it relates to some of the questions that were asked at our last meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeff. I want to, on behalf of the commission, want to really express our thanks for you and your staff for what you've done and the way you've presented this. I'll open this up to the commissioners. Any questions, Jeff, or for Jeff on this?
Mr. Chairman, Jeff, was there anything in the spending bill that's being voted on today or tomorrow with regard to the extension of the 12/31 deadline?
Not that I saw. I think, unfortunately, we're stuck with that 12/30 deadline. Also, one of the pieces that did come out in the negotiations, I haven't reviewed the bill text or some of the highlights early this morning yet. They did pull out that state and local aid, so kind of a second round of state and local aid. I think when the administration's changed, that may get reattacked, but for right now, there's no additional kind of state and local aid coming. I do think that some of it may be shifted to FEMA, was some of the things that I heard in negotiations, but I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah, I read an executive summary this morning, and I saw that same thing about county and state, and I appreciate your response on the deadline.
Yeah, I was disappointed that that wasn't included. I think there's definite need, and continued need within this. So
Thank you.
Dr. Clifford's attending this virtual, and he has some comments here. Dr. Clifford?
Yeah, can you hear me? Jeff, I did see one news report that there is language that may extend the deadline. I'm just wondering if we can park the contingency money pending that deadline extension, so it's not already committed if we have other needs like household emergency relief.
So honestly, Dr. Clifford, without seeing anything from the state Spark office yet on it, I would be concerned about not booking that contingency dollars, and getting it set because of the deadlines. One thing that you can do, just because you book it into contingency and bring it into the county through public safety salaries, doesn't mean that you can't turn around and then run a county-owned program for household emergency relief. And it's something that Robert and I have actually already talked about, is the potential to do something like that, which would be helpful, and extend into 21, using county funds. You just happen to get some contingency money, if you know what I mean. Sorry, you're still on mute.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, other commissioners' questions? Dave?
Mr. Chairman, a question for Jeff. We have, it appears, what, 1,300,000 unspent or unencumbered funding so far left in the program?
That's correct. So, and that's, one of the things for us to discuss today, Commissioner, is, there are ways, we can encumber those funds via public safety salaries. There's an administrative accommodation that was allowed for in the Treasury guidance. And as we've talked all along, this is kind of our fallback position. And this was the meeting that we were targeting to do that, because it allows us to make sure that every grant that's potentially out there is made. Everything that applies for or that meets the program requirements, we've tried to make a grant for it, and then we'll get that. We'll use this position of the public safety salaries to receive in those dollars.
That was my point. It appears it's time now to consider where can we, if you will, legally park that money so that it's expended, but so that we can retrieve it for the extension of some program. Would that be a safe statement?
Yeah, that's essentially what we're doing. We're receiving the dollars in, bring them into the county, and then they can be used as county dollars, or free up cash, other county dollars to be used in support of these programs in the future.
Well, then, Mr. Chairman, our tough question is, where does that money go? So that's a decision I guess we have to make.
We will discuss that here directly. Commissioner Jones.
Jeff, so you're telling us that we have to designate out of that 1.3, like if we want to put another 400,000 into household, we have to designate that amount today, or is that, can we do that later?
No, what I'm saying is today we have to designate that 1.3 for a cost, and the Treasury guidance allows you, and the state Spark allows you to pay for straight time public safety salaries from March 1st through December 30th. And that's a way, that's a cost that you've already accounted for within your budgets. And there's an administrative accommodation to allow them to, you're allowed to use CARES CRF dollars for those salaries. So, in essence, you are reimbursing yourselves, and the city is eligible for this as well. You can assign dollars out to the city for that same idea, and it reimburses, and then you have cash to do what you need to do in the future. So that it basically pays you for costs that you are incurring already because of the substantially dedicated administrative exemption, and then it allows you to kind of encumber those funds, receive those as the county, and then use them in the future. Does that make sense?
From chairman's position, before we worry about the operational relief money, we need leftover. Let's get the agency operational relief grants approved so we do have a definite 1.3. Until these grants are approved, it's still not officially there. So, Jeff,
yes,
let's talk about the agency operational relief grants we have in front of us today.
Great. So we have 10 recommendations for recommended applications for you today, and one that unfortunately we're not able to recommend. So of the 10 awards, the first on the list is Financial Avenues. We're recommending a working capital award of $40,645.29. They did have a request for $160,000 worth of ignition interlock devices to help with their interlock inventory. When we reviewed it, we spent a long time on the phone, both Juliana and I, with Diana Farr, trying to find a way to get to yes on that. Unfortunately, based on the Spark guidelines, the CRF guidelines, we don't think that it qualifies for those pieces, and would not recommend that $160,000 for the award. I don't know if there's any questions on that. I know she had emailed all the commissioners.
Questions on Financial Avenues, Inc., that award? They're shaking their head no, Jeff, so let's move on.
Okay, great. So City on a Hill, after further discussion, we're recommending a $125,000 award. It's half of the max award that they're eligible for because of their work in multiple counties. I know that was a discussion point at our last meeting, but that's kind of a after talking with different individuals within the county, some of the commissioners, I think $125,000 is what was recommended. So we're agreeing with that and bringing that forward. Kansas Society, High Plains Public Radio, they actually provided some additional documentation that increased their award amount here. They realized they hadn't provided us some pieces, some back and forth, and this is get it right for everything that they're eligible under the program. The Finney County Convention and Visitors Bureau, we're recommending $46,430. This is, again, a working capital award. The Finney County Economic Development Corporation, we're recommending $40,076.54. This is, again, a working capital award based on the documentation that they provided. The next 5 awards that we're recommending here, Ranch House, Heartland, Homestead, Caregivers, and Gravity Wellness, were all actually reimbursement requests for funds already expended that kind of, as we were doing our final reconciliation, realized that they made our reimbursement report, but they had never come before the board. After discussions with Robert and Dory and our team, they were most appropriate under the agency operational relief grant, within planned expenditures. So all of these costs are for COVID-19 mitigation measures, whether that's personal protective equipment, in some cases, tests, that just try and keep those populations that they serve very safe within that. So, we're recommending those 5 awards there based on that, and they're already expended dollars. These are easy for us to turn around and get these dollars out. And then the last award that we're not recommending, unfortunately, is the Finney County Child Care and Early Learning Network. We were trying to find a way, and Dr. Clifford, very much to your request at the last meeting, to get them additional dollars to support and move things forward. Unfortunately, just with the paperwork, the way the dollars aligned, their operational pieces, we just can't recommend a grant award at this time because of some of the operational pieces. So we can't give them a working capital award. That being said, this is where some of those contingency dollars could be used in, out years as well, if the commission wants to make an investment in childcare. We just didn't have anything there that we could do. But overall, recommending these 10 awards, including the difference in the change, it's $425,982.97.
Okay, discussion, gentlemen, and I have no screen to see if Dr. Clifford's waving his hand, but any further discussion on this? City on a Hill was a topic last time. So what's your pleasure, fellas?
Wayne, do I have the floor?
Yes, go for it, Doctor.
Okay. I guess I'm still struggling a little with City on the Hill. I know at the Thursday meeting, we talked about the half award. I looked through near 50 pages of receipts, and every one of them is either Liberal or Scott City. And I just wonder about their presence in Finney County. Has that been verified, Jeff? And they are making an impact in Finney County, and then again, not triple dipping in the other counties in which they seem to do more business?
Mm-hmm. So I can tell you within Seward and Finney. So I did speak with Christopher Lund, who's there, who verified that they do have operations, are ongoing, and are making an impact within Finney County. They are, some of their receipts, are shown in multiple areas, and they do move product around in between those locations. In terms of Seward County, I can tell you definitively they are not double dipping or triple dipping. They received an award, a response and recovery award in Seward County to enhance some of their operations as it relates to transportation from one of their facilities within Seward County. But other than that, they are not receiving another award within Seward County. So.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I was not here, unfortunately, last meeting to discuss City on a Hill. However, my memory of their history in the county is that they came in 3 or 4 budget cycles ago with a request for $10,000. And as I recall, our first look at their request that first year was to deny it. Then they came back again, and I think eventually their request was raised to $20,000. And I believe we approved either part or most of that $20,000. But it seems to me like an extreme jump from $10,000 or $20,000 to $125,000 for a program that I don't think has grown that much in Finney County. They do a wonderful job with the number of people they deal with, but the numbers are not that big. So I guess I have some hesitation about that large of an award. However, I don't want to hold up things because I was not here for the discussion. So thank you for your time.
And Commissioner, just to address that, this is a working capital award. And I'll share my screen. I apologize. I'm realizing that you guys were seeing my PowerPoint instead of the recommended award documentation. So this was, just to give you an idea, this wasn't a request that they specifically made. This was calculated off the, this is a calculated award, as are all the AOR working capital awards, based on the documentation that's been provided.
So Jeff, what you're saying is that these are monies that they've spent or plan on
these
spending?
These are monies that, based on their tax returns, everything else, these are the awards that you originally approved. The program criteria that you originally approved. So we look at staff salaries, rent, utilities, all of those pieces, all to come together, the inventory, and put it together and create this as a calculated award based on their information.
If you would come up to the microphone, please.
I just know that we work with City on a Hill a lot. And they're one of the few agencies in town that provide alcohol and drug services. And they do provide inpatient beds. A lot of those beds, they're not here in Finney County, they are in Marienthal and other counties. And so we may be sending clients from our drug and alcohol programs to those counties for those services. So I don't want to get involved in the money part. I just want to make sure that you guys understand that there are a lot of services that are provided to Finney County residents through that drug and alcohol program and through their screening programs for us, and I'm sure other agencies as well. But we really, at least in this county, I feel are very short on those drug and alcohol programs and mental health programs. So any money that they can get, I'm very sure will be well spent.
Appreciate your comments, sir, for the public. That was our County Attorney Richmeyer.
Mr. Chairman, I guess as I wrestle with this the last time, and for Dave's benefit as well, the recommendation at our last meeting was $250,000, which is the max award, and it did create some conversation, and I very much respect and understand that conversation. However, where I'm supportive of this because we've trusted Jeff and his crew on all of these other awards. We've trusted them to make the review of the tax returns and of all the other documentation that's needed. And their first recommendation was $250,000. We've cut that in half. And I believe that there's been enough publicity and enough information out there to provide or to invite, is a way for me to say this, to invite people and businesses within our county to apply for these dollars. So I think as we've trusted Jeff and his crew on all of the other recommendations, I believe we trust them also with regard to City on the Hill. Thank you.
All right, any further questions on the presentations of Jess for the agency relief, operational relief monies? If I'm looking for Dr. Clifford, does not have his hand up, so further discussion on this? If not, I'd like to hear a motion on what we go from here.
And if I remember right, Dory, we do two motions. We do one for recommended and one for not recommended. Is that correct? So, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the recommended 10 applications in the amount of $425,982.97.
Clifford seconds.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, not necessarily opposed, but I'll not vote on this just because of the issue I raised, and I'll let it drop at that, okay?
Note that Commissioner Dave Jones abstained. Now we need a motion to deny. Up to you guys.
I would so move, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to deny the motion for, I'm not going to try to say all that. Anyway, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, Jeff, now we do have our official 1.3.
Well, not quite yet. We have one. We have one response and recovery award for us to consider.
You got me. Yes, sir.
So we are recommending to you all a response and recovery award for the First Assembly of God for $6,196.80 for PPE expenses. This is one, again, as we completed the final reconciliation, there was some email processing issues, and when we finally received it, their email shows as being sent prior to the deadline, and we definitely want to give them the benefit of the doubt. So if we're recommending this award, it was scored at a 90, and it's just short of $6,200 for PPE expenses.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the response and recovery recommendation.
Second?
I'll say,
We'll give Bill the second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried.
Okay, now we have 1.3 million in contingency dollars. Given all of those approvals, as we've discussed, one of the things that I strongly recommend is, use the remaining contingency dollars to book those to public safety salaries. I know there's discussion about what's, of that projected contingency, do we want to assign some out to the city and keep some at the county level as well? So I know that's going to be an item that needs to be discussed in terms of what percentage of this contingency is left over. So the recommendation is to, book the 1.3 million for public safety salaries on both the city and the county level at a breakdown to be authorized by the commission. We'd also, further, as we go through this cleanup over the next 9 days, of all the little pieces, hopefully, maybe we get some more money from the state in some other program or anything else. We're recommending to you all that, you authorize Robert to make those decisions and reimburse the county with if there's any new dollars that are identified, reimburse county public safety salaries based on, just for administrative convenience, just to book that internally as well. With any of those remaining contingency items, and allow him and I to report back to you at the next commission meeting with what those final numbers are.
I understand that both the county and the city can claim several $1 million each on public safety salaries, so there's plenty of room to justify this with the grant programs part.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Absolutely, Commissioner. There is well in excess. We've working with the city and working, with county staff. We've identified more than $8 million of potential public safety salaries that could be used for this. So it's not a matter of having the necessary salaries to book to these. It's a matter of allocation.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, Lon?
I'm fine with what Jeff is suggesting, and certainly both the city and the county need to be included in that discussion. The only thing that, from what Jeff said, that I would ask that we alter is, we did give Robert authority on some things the other day, and on this particular one, since we're talking about $1.3 million, I think it should be Robert and the chairman of our board to get input from both sides, from both the administrative side as well as the Board of Commissioners.
I'm sure that's fair. Put more work on me. Thank you very much.
Well, you're through your all your farm work, so we needed something for you to do.
All right. From my standpoint, before we get into the splits, Robert and Jeff and I have all three come first on the possibility of extending the home emergency relief grant. We feel that's a fantastic idea. So however, after we allocate this back to the county, rest assured for the public, I think we're tossing around a number, maybe $500,000 back into that program, extended out for another 90 days. Beg Roxanne and her staff to continue on working with that. So I think that's a good direction we can use that for. We'll justify it through salaries, but that's a good expenditure. And by the way, Roxanne, do you have any comment on so far? I don't, you've been a vital part of this operation. I'd like to give you a chance to speak at this point in time.
So I appreciate the fact that you're right, there is still some need, and some people wanted to apply after the deadline. Obviously, there was a deadline. If you got COVID after the deadline, you were in hot water. So I think that the extension is great, and I think the program has been well received, and Jeff and his team have been wonderful. I know towards the end, we were meeting daily to get these things pushed through. There were about 10 folks who, like Jeff said, fell off the face of the earth. Either they were duplicate applications or we couldn't get a hold of them. I mean, literally, we were texting them, sending them emails, calling them, and some of them we even went by their homes. So we made every effort to get them the funds that they applied for. So it's been a great opportunity, and we've enjoyed the experience and opened ourselves up to a group that we haven't visited with before. So
Well, it sounds like you agree. The need is still there.
the need is still there. The need will be there, I think, for quite a while, as long as the virus is as active as it is and people are not being able to go to work. It's definitely a need.
Roxanne, do you foresee any problem letting the public know that we're opening this back up? Do you,
No.
through your
I
channels?
don't see any problems. Those people who didn't get to apply. You know, we had some really great partners. Catholic Charities and the school system were probably the two biggest facilitators of a lot of these grants. So reaching out to those other charities who we have exhausted funds in Finney County. I mean, they're out of funding, and United Way is having a tough time. So those all sent folks over to our office to get these grants. So we have great partners, and so I think that getting the money out there is going to be no problem.
And at the same time, Jeff, I hope that we can contract with you to continue your excellent work on helping with those grants. I hope you're open to that idea.
Absolutely. We'd love to be with you as long as you'll have us.
Okay, that's kind of a vision on what we can do after the fact with these funds. Elephant in the room is how do we split this with the city? I see city people standing there eagerly hearing this, so where do we want to open this up, guys? How do you got some thoughts? I'll even offer that opportunity to you, Robert, if you want to chime in, but I guess I'll throw out a number. 80-20 county city, just to get it started. So we'll go from there.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I don't think I'm prepared to give any numbers today because I don't know what the need is. You know, because Jeff threw out a total number between city and county, and I know the city's working or has worked on pulling some numbers together. I know through a source that contacted me. So I guess I'm just suggesting that we leave that to you and Robert with guidance that we look at the totals for the city and the county and what are those public safety salaries and work out a formula based on that, I guess, is my thought. I don't have enough information today to say if 80-20 is right or if 70-30 is right. Or I just think we look at both city and county public safety salaries.
I don't think we have the option of extending this too many. We've got 9 days left on this program.
But I also thought that we could delegate it, I guess that's why I was saying that a little bit ago. I thought we could delegate this to you and to Robert, just like we did on another one, the last meeting, we delegated to Robert. I guess I felt like that was our authority that we could use for this next 9 days.
I'd just as soon share the rocks with you guys, to tell you the truth.
Well, again, I don't want to be argumentative, and Bill's got his hand raised too, but I don't think I have enough information to be able to answer that question definitively.
Dr. Clifford?
Yeah, I understand where Commissioner Pishy's coming from, but again, to repeat what Jeff said, both entities have many multiple millions in these salary numbers, but there's a proportionality of effort that I think we need to provide as a commission to guide our chairman, Robert, and I'm willing to go along with Dwayne that the burden of this effort has fallen disproportionately on the county. And since we can't possibly reimburse all of these public safety salaries, we have to consider the effort of our emergency manager, our health department, certainly, and the entire county effort to support the tip of the spear in this response. So I'm more in line with Dwayne that at least to provide fairly firm guidance in the 80-20 range, 80% county, 20% city. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, on the, back to the 500K on the household, is that a firm number, or is that just a number you're hoping that you can achieve?
Just a number we kind of threw out. That's open for debate as well.
Because we expended, what, 260,000 on the original deal with, I can't remember the exact number, of 97 grants, I think. That's a pretty big number to reach in 90 days, it looks to me like. I don't know, it'd be a great goal.
It is an optimistic number,
Yeah.
I will admit.
Okay.
But we also have some infrastructure situations we can apply money for too, so it's.
Okay, I knew that, you know, we're really short on the Farmland Road
Farmland
project.
Road is a great example. That's a huge number that we haven't found monies for.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, quick question. Is our emergency manager still in the room? There he is. Steve, I'm going to suggest something that may not be accurate, but didn't you not keep records of the hours and the equipment and the commitment to the COVID response, and particularly down at the fairgrounds, so that you would know how many hours were dedicated from the sheriff's department, how many from the police department, and so on? You would have those hours, would you not?
Process. We did not personally track anything outside the county responsibility in city hours. SO's been tracked. They had a specific code that they entered into their timesheets. So our HR department's on top of that, yes, sir.
So under the web EOC concept, this was reported somewhere. Those figures would be available, I would think. I'm sitting here listening to 80-20, and while I'm not arguing about that, having driven by the fairgrounds a number of times, frankly, I saw more city police cars sitting there than I saw sheriff's deputies, but also saw some highway patrol cars providing security and so on. So it would appear to me that there are some hours somewhere recorded that would help to divide this amount of money up and do so rather rapidly and fairly.
Well, you are correct. The police department did provide tremendous amount of support for that drive-through, and we appreciate that very much. So you're very correct on that. I would invite city staff to comment if you would care to.
Thanks for the invitation, Chairman, to speak. Wouldn't disagree at all that the lion's share of the staffing was on the county side. So from that, I mean, there's two ways of looking at this, and it's probably gonna lead you to two different splits, but we trust your judgment. Workload standpoint, most of the work fell on county agencies, both law enforcement and health department, county staff, really across the board. Our assistance was merely that, assistance, and we were in a supporting role. However, it did impact it, and we appreciate Jeff giving us the opportunity to submit payroll numbers that would go towards a contingency solution. I also hear you talking about what you would do with those contingency numbers. So there's two ways of looking at it. How do we come up with this mostly arbitrary but somewhat scientific way of splitting out remaining money proportionately? Or you can look at it as, what do we hope to accomplish after December 31st with the money locally? We being us together, maybe we being just you, and you handle it more within the five of you, as you've done so far. As I look at this, it seems that probably fallen short on a couple of the primary goals. One of those being the child care thing. It was just situationally pretty tough to accomplish within that time frame, and the housing side of things. Also pretty tough to figure that one out within 5 or 6 months. This notion of household relief, I would just remind this commission that we've submitted, and it's been deemed not permissible under the KDIM standards, but it would certainly be a way we would look at anything that would come back to contingency. We did household emergency relief 2 months into the COVID response before there was such a thing as spark money. $724,000 to all just short of 10,000 residential utility customer accounts within the city of Garden City, which is the bulk of your Finney County population. So I would say household relief to some extent, granted smaller dollar amount, and to everyone, but it was a fixed dollar amount. So it proportionally helped those more disadvantaged than it did those financially more advantaged. Does that make some sense? So I think as we look at it, a split, it's, again, we understand you got to come up with some way to calculate it. I would say household relief, we were doing household relief in April when people needed it. And it was just short of 10,000 utility accounts. That doesn't take into account the utility assistance that we gave, or the assistance we gave to businesses by right-sizing their solid waste and those types of things. So we've been looking and requesting and submitting some acknowledgement of that assistance to every household with no success, and I don't think I put that on the county. That may be the program language, but I think between Robert, the chair, and Jeff putting together this idea of, well, there's this contingency, let's push into the hole what can fit into the hole. And in this case, it's public safety salaries. That's the way to appropriately draw down the money, with the understanding that we would probably look at it as some shoring up of that household assistance that the city of Garden City provided every one of its customers back this spring. Thanks for your comment, or thanks for the opportunity to give you some comment.
We appreciate that very much. Larry, did you have a question for Matt?
Well, Matt, I was going to ask you a question. Of the 97 grants that we expended, or that they expended CARES money to, some of it went to the city, didn't it? Because it was supposedly to pay rent and utilities, so that would be you guys.
It went to the customer.
Well, no, I think it went directly to the...
Well, it went to the customer's account.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Right. Yes, okay.
Yeah, which is, I see that as different. I mean, those customers were in arrears, or we agreed to not have them pay until that was reconciled. And I think that went as long as 90 days in some instances, which we were glad to do. I do think there's some accounts that were applications that we allowed to go in arrears much further than we would have otherwise allowed, that we didn't, that then ultimately we didn't receive anything on.
So it just covered in arrears accounts and nothing in the
For the
future?
ones that were approved.
Yeah.
The ones that weren't approved, they just stand in arrears.
Okay, that's, and that's probably ones that they'll be looking at.
Okay, gentlemen, just got a note, Dr. Clifford has to leave our meeting at 9:30, which it just flipped to that time. I don't think we're anywhere close to a motion. Dr. Clifford, do you have any quick comment before you depart, if you have not already? I think he just left. All right. Where do we go, guys? 20% of 1.3 is 260,000, I believe, which comes a far piece short of what the city's invested, but it does help somewhat. I know Health Department, Emergency Management, and all through the county, health departments probably dedicated 90% of their time to this flipping epidemic, so pandemic. So where do you want to go? Do you want to?
Mr. Chairman, I'd offer the motion to divide that 75 county, 25 city, and see if that'll get a second.
I don't hear a second.
Mr. Chairman, I am not opposed to what you're recommending. I just still am struggling with having enough information. And I guess the other piece, or the other part of my question is, are we talking about, if we would vote to have 80-20 split county-city, is that $1.3 million minus the 500,000 that you suggested? I guess I'm still struggling on what we're being asked to support.
To my mind, the county share that's what we could eventually dedicate that to.
Of the $1.3 million.
Of the $1.3 million, if we took 80%, for example, it's 940,000. Of that, how I would recommend, and staff would encourage us to use that for, is set up a county-run household emergency fund, and then anything over and above that, we can apply to something like Farmland Road or another infrastructure or an economy-related issue that we have in front of us. That's how I envision.
So, I want to make sure I'm very clear. So you're suggesting 80-20 of the $1.3 million, and out of that 80%, that some of that's going to be allocated to the household emergency program, or whatever we call that.
Correct. Technically, it's reimbursing salaries, but that's how
I get the technical part, yeah,
okay,
I get that.
how we envision using that money. It's going to go back into the community, hopefully to people who really need it, and then off of some of this infrastructure issues we have to deal with.
And then I would simply ask, Mr. Chairman, Jeff, hearing our comments, and it looks like Bill Clifford's still on there, hearing our comments, do you have feedback to us?
I think the only feedback that I have to you, Commissioner, is, really don't get caught up. I think the chairman just said it well. We're reimbursing for public safety salaries. It just comes down to, where do you want to allocate the money? I do think that it's a situation that, there is leftover money. I think there's a desire from the commission and a need from the city to split, some of, they could use those dollars. I think they could also, the commission could use it in furtherance for items that weren't really covered under this grant program, and looking forward to the future. Just because these, we're working against the December 30th timeline, unfortunately. And just because December 30th comes and ends doesn't mean the pandemic's going away. And I think that's been sprinkled throughout our discussion, that there are going to be needs into the future. So I just, I'd focus in on what you want the allocation to be of the remaining dollars of this 1.3. Anything over the 1.3, keeping in on the county level, and then, or at the discretion of Robert and the chairman. And then really, making sure that we focus in on accounting and getting the dollars out, and thinking about in 2021, how can we allocate those dollars to best service the community?
And hopefully that could incur some kind of child care assistance somewhere down the line as a county program as well. Dr. Clifford, you're back. I know you're in a hurry. You have comments before you have to go to clinic?
No, I'm certainly in agreement with the 80/20, and we'll see what the new year brings. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we give you and Robert the authority to put this in public safety salaries with designation of trying to achieve an 80/20 split with the city.
Clifford seconds.
Discussion on the motion.
Let me clarify, of the 1.3 million.
Further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Thanks a lot. Bye. I take it that's a goodbye wave, Doc.
No, I'd like to make further comment. Having been at many of the Thursday meetings, I appreciate the work of Jeff, Stevens, and Juliet. We've had a lot of back and forth. Them and the staff, and been a very well thought out process. So I think I really appreciate their input. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jeff, again, thank you for all your help. I think, are you finished with your presentation?
Yeah, that's all I had for you, Mr. Chairman. If there's anything else that you all have for me.
Well, I know the next, your paperwork is not done, so we appreciate and thank you very much, and have a Merry Christmas. Take the day off.
And Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if I can find my darn agenda. Okay, we'll get a couple in here before we break. Doug, we have information technology fiber project. Doug, thank you.
So there is fiber all over Garden City, and it is nearly completely installed. The IT department has been here for evenings and weekends for the last couple of months working on this, so I'm going to thank those guys. We have light in the fiber going up to the health department and EMS, and they are actively in use on it today. We have light to the fiber going to the senior center and transit authority. It is continually being worked on, as is this building, if you haven't noticed, and they are boring underneath. The contractor is still laying a little bit more fiber. They've got most of the south bit done, with the exception of the railroad track. They're working on going underneath the railroad track yet today. We're hoping to have that piece in place today or tomorrow. And with the help of some contractors from NCS and a 35-hour weekend, we have most of the network equipment installed in those buildings that are part of this process.
Accomplished a lot. Crunch time, you gonna get there?
I believe so, yes. With or without sleep.
Okay, that's you and a lot of people, I believe, in the county right now. Thank you so much for your efforts. Questions for Doug? Thank you very much. Appreciate all and your staff as well.
Thank you.
Colleen, Health Department update. Good morning.
Morning. So just to kind of briefly give you the numbers over the last 3 weeks to just show you what is going on. November 22nd through the 28th, we had a total number of cases 223 with a 48% positivity rate. The 29th through December 5th, we had 297 cases with a 65% positivity rate. Then this number will be released today. So December 6th through December 12th, we had 175 cases with a total net positivity rate of 41%. Those numbers will be published to our site as well as our situation report and all the other information today, pending, as you just heard, our fiber. We have a little bit of some technical things still going on, so we are working through those. As you heard, a significant decrease in positive cases. There is a pretty significant decrease in also testing here in the last several weeks as well. So we are currently monitoring that. We are looking at all sites in Finney County of who has been tested recently. In other news too, we did do 4 days worth of a flu drive-up clinic. So we put out a release about providing a flu drive-up. It was on the 11th, 15th, 16th, and 17th last week, where people could call in, make an appointment. They could drive up to our clinic in the afternoons, and we'd go out and do a flu shot, and had a really good reception on that. And of course, as you all know, COVID vaccines is the kind of the next hurdle that we are working towards. We are slated to receive vaccines this week. Hospital received vaccines last week. So with this week, we will then begin all healthcare frontline workers in the sense of health department and EMS is for this first dosing. And then we go back to healthcare workers looking at hospital and all medical clinics that actively see patients and potentially COVID-19 patients that are currently positive or infectious, although some are doing kind of the virtual appointments with those. And then we'll go on to home health. And we are following the vaccination plan that is released by KDHE in the state, along with CDC and ACIP. They released a pretty comprehensive plan that provides that guidance to health departments on how to administer the vaccines. So we'll be following that. Some of the categories are very broad, but we are also launching on our website, so the COVID Hub, as well as we'll do our social media pages and do news releases per category of vaccination that we move through so that we can get that word out. And then we're also working on putting together a list of contacts at businesses so that then we can contact that business directly, receive their enrollment information of their employees, and then vaccinate those employees. So we're looking at doing on-site for those employers and drive-up methods of vaccination over at the health department.
Colleen, we've heard that the state's not getting as many vaccination doses as originally thought. Of your first shipments, does that get you through your critical need, or are you going to have quite a few people short of your critical people?
That is still fairly unclear to us right now of exactly how many numbers of vaccines we are going to be receiving, as well as how many we'll be administering here this week or potentially early next week. So we're still trying to narrow down those details.
Questions for Colleen?
Colleen, do you have any idea of what the hospital received in numbers of vaccines?
The initial that I was told was 140 doses, but I'm not sure other than that, if they've received more or less, or if that was for sure confirmed of what they did receive.
So do you have any idea what what is the number that you really require to get the frontline people in your operation and EMS covered?
So total number of health department is 30 employees, and I believe EMS, how many do you have, 25 total? 30 total. So roughly 55 that we would need from the get-go to cover everyone if they choose to take it.
So after that, 55 on their selection to do it or not to do it, what would you, then what's the next step? Senior care or?
So it's actually hospital, ensuring that all hospital staff are vaccinated. And then from there, it's home health agencies. So specifically home health agencies that are going in to take care of COVID positive patients, those types of agencies. We will also extend those offers to other medical clinics outside of hospital. So outside of the Centura umbrella, so potentially Growell, Sunshine Nursing, and then look at kind of PT. So we've defined several businesses, and we're kind of creating our own tree that operates in congruence with the state's plan. So identifying those businesses as we move through those tiers.
Wayne, can I comment?
Yes, Doc, go ahead.
Yes, the hospital vaccinated over 300 people. I just received an email from Beth Coxel. They actually had some extra doses due to overfill of some of the bottles, and several EMS people were vaccinated as well. And I know some of my staff were. I actually received my first vaccine at Colby. I was there Friday doing surgery, and they had some overfilled bottles, and I was able to get a vaccine. So I wonder if Colleen might reach out to the hospital, because that Pfizer only has 5 days in the refrigerator, and maybe there are some doses still out there. Thank you.
Okay, Dave.
Colleen, I have a question about the website that has recently changed in appearance.
Sure.
And we now have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday update is more so than the daily, it would appear. With all of this, has there been any suggestion, maybe we go back to just one page for old folks like me that says, we had this many positives today, and that's more than we had the day before?
Sure. So with that initial launch, we had a lot of feedback about having similar characteristics and tables from our previous website. And so we built into the dashboard the whole top box that gives you the total number of negatives, the positives, the increase from the previous day, and then hospitalization. So still having those same features at the top of the website. So it should be accomplishing the same thing, and then those numbers are updated daily at the end of the day, typically around that 5 p.m. time. They are updated daily at around 5 p.m., except for the positivity rate, which is updated every Monday. That goes in congruence with our situational report that gives you kind of the scope on COVID-19 within our community for the following week.
Well, I'm not offering criticism, but I want to tell you as a commissioner, that's very handy information when we go to the social setting and someone has a question about COVID and the positivity rates and so on, to have those figures. And I just find this new dashboard a little bit more cumbersome to find your way through. So I didn't know if you'd heard any other comments or not, but I'm not an IT person, quite obviously.
Sure. So offline, I'd be happy to show you the dashboard and walk you through it too, if that helps. Sure.
Yeah, just piggybacking on that, Colleen did work with me a little bit and help me understand a couple of buttons that I had missed, and so I think she can help. Mr. Chairman, two questions for Colleen. One is, I see not widespread, but some adverse effects of the vaccine, and in Chicago, they even suspended the vaccines for a little bit because they had some people adversely react to them. Are we prepared for that kind of reaction here if people taking the vaccine do have an adverse reaction?
Sure. So so we're looking to figure out the mechanism of monitoring people for 15 minutes following the vaccination. So if an adverse effect will happen or an allergic reaction will happen within that 15 minutes, the 15 minutes after that first vaccine is the highest chance of it happening right then. We have also ordered in additional supplies of epinephrine so that we have more doses on hand in case that's the reaction.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question, and you may have said it and I missed it, but you mentioned positivity rates and so forth. What were the number of hospitalizations this morning or last night? I didn't hear that number.
I don't have last night's or this morning's number yet from the hospital. And I think last week's on Friday, I'm going strictly off of memory here, I believe it was 16 was the last number that I have. But until we have that report, we'll update then the COVID hub. Sure.
Any further questions for Colleen? Okay, well, thank you for your report. If you do have a chance, we have a discussion about some fairground events, the numbers. You might have some input on that later on. If you can stick around, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, this time we'll take a 5-minute break, 7-minute break. We'll be back at 10 o'clock sharp. Mrs. Mitchell, do you need to get back? Do you need us to move you up on the agenda, or does it matter? Or you're kind of on a clock here.
Well, I wasn't until just recently, and I've got some kind of emergency stuff that's going on, so if I could be moved up.
Okay, if everybody's in agreement, I'll let you take over your presentation as soon as we reconvene. Okay, as I suggested earlier, we're going to invite Susan Richmar, our county attorney, to have her presentation a little bit out of order here.
Thank you, Robert, for allowing me to do that. The only reason I'm really here today is just to kind of give you an end-of-year update on where we are and some things and plans that we have for 2021. First is, I think, part of your packet. We had put together a list of all of the charitable contributions that were made by our office through the diversion program. And so I just think it's important that you guys see where the money goes that's coming into our office through that diversion program and who it's benefiting. And this year, I think we had close to 30 agencies, and the total dollar amount was around $104,000 that was contributed back to those agencies in Finney County. So, and we allow our divertees to make the choice on where those monies go. So it's not necessarily, I know it seems kind of skewed. I noticed the Girl Scouts received an awful lot of money this year, and some other things, the breast cancer fund at St. Catherine. What was the other big one? The Humane Society. So those are just places that it would appear that people who are taking advantage of our diversion program, I guess, filter towards.
Susan, if we could back that chart back up just a little ways, that's on the screen. I think I saw City on the Hill. And that's been part of my concern, is there are multiple funding around the area. Is that not the same one that we just funded this morning with a SMART grant?
Yes, this $1,000 was to City on a Hill. And I mean, this would be a fund that. Right. Where they wanted it to go. And these are funds that, like, next year, there may be no money that gets contributed through the diversion program to that particular agency. And as you can see, there's a couple that have only received $50 or $100. So it's not something that I would recommend a local agency depend on our office for their budgetary needs, because from year to year, that's going to definitely change. And I would say, and I mean, this would be probably fairly representative of what City on a Hill would get from our office. I don't think they've ever exceeded a couple thousand.
Well, I realize it's not much money, but I'm going to take this off so I can speak more plainly. My concern is, as I was trying to point out, they started with a request of 10,000 and 20. Today we approve over 100,000. What's it going to be next year? So at some point we need to take a careful look and see where all of this funding is coming from.
I think for a lot of these agencies, especially those that are mental health, drug and alcohol, the ones that we particularly deal with, I would say, just to the commission as a whole, we do not have enough of those services here. We never have enough beds. We never have, I mean, it is a constant battle for us to find services for people in those particular areas, for our youth and for our adults. And the problem today is not what it was 5 years ago even. What we're seeing and have seen is an increase in our severity of drugs. So what you used to be concerned about might have been a little bit of marijuana, and now what we're seeing is meth, fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, and those are much harder to deal with on a treatment level. So, I mean, I understand exactly where you're coming from, but by the same token, I don't think you could pour enough money into these agencies or have enough people employed out here to handle the problem that we've got.
Mr. Chairman, my question to Susan, and this is more just for spirit of transparency for those who might be watching and so forth, Susan. The amounts that go to these 30-some agencies is determined by what process, and how help the public understand how. And I'm just looking at the top of the list, how ABC Pregnancy received $3,700, for example. just let everyone know what the process is for these contributions.
For sure. The first thing that any agency that makes this list has to provide us with their 501c3 paperwork so that we're giving to an agency that is tax exempt. So that would be the first hurdle. The two other things would be for traffic cases, any of those, we've changed that diversion program as of July 1st based on COVID and the pandemic and court and things like that. So now it's a lot more online. But what we do is provide, there will be two avenues. One, a portion of the funds will go into the county's diversion fund, and then a portion of the funds go into charitable contributions. For the charitable contributions, we either allow the defendant to choose which agency they would like to see receive that money, or they can choose for us to just distribute it. In that case, we'll go down the list and we'll take half of the money, and it'll go first to ABC, the next on the list, the next money that comes in would go to the next person on the list, and they're down. And that's pretty much the same as how it works with our criminal diversions. There's just usually more money that's involved. So it's typically our defendants that are choosing where that money will go.
And those defendants are, they know what the list entails, and then they choose from that list.
They or their attorney.
Oh, okay, thank you.
In conjunction with their attorney.
All right, thank you.
I think that just, I think what it kind of shows too is, I just find it interesting from year to year to see where the money goes. And this year it seemed to be that people were really concerned about the Girl Scouts and Humane Society. A lot of times, Miles of Smiles and Russell Child Development in the past have gotten quite a bit of money. So it just kind of fluctuates from year to year. And I think it shows where people's interests lie at each particular time.
Susan, wouldn't it be fair to say, though, that it's their attorneys that drive this thing?
I would say that more on the criminal diversion side. They'll say, oh, you might do this place or that. On the traffic side, then no. Because we've kind of, over the last 6 months, I don't want to say cut out the attorneys on those, but we've tried to make it very easy for defendants to contact our office, fill out diversion applications online, make payments online in order to avoid court. And people seem to be really gravitating towards that. I think you can tell that just because the amounts this year are so much higher than they've been in the past. I don't have 2019's numbers in front of me, but I'm going to say that we've surpassed that by a good 30,000 this year.
Has this always been the way you've done this? Yeah, I just jog my memory because I've never seen this list before that I know of.
Well, what we've given you in the past has just been like, here's how much has gone into our diversion fund. Here's how much has been charitable contributions. We've never broken it down by how many and which agencies that you've seen. So it was just something that this year, I've seen it. I've just never shared it with you guys, and I felt like it was important for the community to know where that money was going. So we will be preparing this type of report for you at least annually.
Is this a kind of a standard process across the state of Kansas, how counties distribute diversion funds?
No. It's individual county attorneys make the decision in each individual county how those funds will be distributed. There are a lot of county attorneys that don't do diversions at all. There are some that only do charitable contributions. Some just do diversion payment to their own diversion fund alone. We've just chosen in this county, John chose years and years back to have both the diversion fund and a charitable contribution fund. And so we've just continued that. And I think this year we really worked to try to enhance that because of the backlog that we were getting.
Well, I know on the alcohol funds, I guess better no better way of saying it, that it goes before a committee, and then we look at applications, and then send the monies out. I just wondered if it might, you're talking about a lot of money here now. That maybe we should have a few more eyes on how, and maybe we should make some of these agencies request the funds.
That each individual agency at the end of the year, like, make application for grant funding type, is that what you're talking about?
Well, it'd be kind of like the alcohol funds that we distribute out to the different agencies that come in and apply for funds. What's the other one we have, Robert? The Parks and Rec funds, that's another one. But I don't know, it seems like you're giving out a lot of money, and then there's not, these are all worthy organizations, but yet it would be nice to see what exactly they're using them for.
I would certainly entertain a discussion, with any or all of you on how to move forward with that. I think, like I said, this has been the most money we've ever distributed, so it's kind of, I was actually really surprised by the dollar amount this year. But I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to change things up or make it more accountable, that kind of.
And this is 19's funds, you're saying?
These would be 2020.
2020s?
So far. There may be a couple thousand that come in over the next couple of weeks. But, at one point, there was no requirement for even a 501c3. Anyone could come in and say, we want to be added to the list, and they would be added to the list. And so, I guess it was probably about 3 years ago, I said, no, if we haven't distributed more than $250 in a year and we don't have their paperwork, then I don't want them on the list. So it's.
Well, it puts a lot of onus just on you and your staff to do this, and I think we could, I don't know. I guess it'd be up to the rest of the commissioners if we could come up with some type of, maybe a committee process to review these funds at the end of the year and then distribute them. When we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think that's a lot of money.
Well, I mean, it is, and I think this just shows we've just made some good changes, I think, and hopefully it will only grow from here.
That just means you're arresting a lot more folks.
Well, I told you that a couple of weeks ago, that it's just been, it's been a very interesting year, and not having our court available, we've kind of had to think a little bit outside of the box to try to get some of those cases handled. But this, honestly, the traffic and some of the misdemeanor stuff does not even begin to encompass the number of cases we have sitting on our desk that we can't file because the cases won't get served. The warrants won't get served because there's not room in jail, or there's not the ability at this point to accept those in jail with lower level felonies. And what's the point of filing a case that just sits out there for 2 years or a year and a half and no warrant gets served? So we've probably got over 500 cases just sitting on our desks, just waiting, like waiting for something to happen. That's why we felt it necessary for the traffic and some of these other cases, just to kind of get them through, so that when we have that backlog, that finally it's going to catch up to us. I mean, it all runs downhill at some point, but yeah, we can certainly take a look at changing some of those procedures if that's something that the commission would like to have a discussion over.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm not opposed to discussing those kind of things, but I think we need to keep in mind that this one is donor-driven, if you will. The people who are donating the funds are picking these agencies that it goes to, where the other money goes into a pot, and then it's being allocated by that committee that you're talking about. So I think there's a... No, that's why I'm saying I don't think it's bad to have that conversation, but it would be done differently than it is now as far as who directs the funds is what I'm saying. You know, because the donors directing the funds here, the donors putting the money into the pot and then a committee's picking the funds. So I'm not against having that conversation, but I think we need to keep in context and perspective, you know, that they're being run differently at this particular point. Yeah.
Well, I think people like the idea of being able to say, I donated this to Meals on Wheels, or I donated this to Girl Scouts, or I think it makes them feel better about having to pay money for their ticket, that they got to decide where some of that went.
Susan, I have no problem with the way you've been handling this, but isn't it in that same enabling legislation that these monies cannot be used to supplant a budget? So they have to be used for something separate, so we need to keep that in mind. Is that correct?
Well, there's two separate things here. This would be our charitable contributions. The other you're talking about would be our diversion fund in general. And that's where, when we've come to you and asked for the ability to use that to make improvements to the building or to donate for law enforcement.
That once in a lifetime purchase type thing.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Not anything that would be considered standard business operating for the office.
Okay, further questions for Susan?
And then the other is I just wanted to make sure that you understand, I mean, we were going to make some transfers at the end of the year just because we have been really short-staffed this year, and knowing that the county or the district court will be upgrading their IT and software systems within the next 2 years. We recognize that we're going to have to do that too. I think I mentioned that during the budget hearing back in last summer, August. So we're requesting that some of these transfers be made in order for us to be able to do that without having to ask for additional monies in the future to do that. So just wanted to be, you know, kind of transparent about that too, that this is where some of this money is going to get earmarked for, so that we don't have to ask for additional funding. So make sure that if you had any questions about that, that you knew what we were doing.
All right. Anything else, Susan?
I don't have anything else.
Okay, gentlemen, anything for?
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, time for our fairgrounds discussion. Robert, you want to lead this? You're going to let Roger lead it? Who wants to lead this discussion on the events that are coming up before us? Angie, you're standing up. Good morning.
I think that the purpose is just, you know, safety for everyone involved. I mean, the event sponsors are wanting direction on how to plan, and 60 days advanced planning is probably the standard good practice. So we're just kind of here to, what's you guys' preference? I mean, we're open for business, and we have had a lot of cancellations for this last couple weeks in December and several in January. And I believe we've got the Sand and Sage Collector Show people present here, and they're seeking some direction on how do we proceed in this interesting times that we're currently in with the situation of public health and safety amongst all of our guests is the utmost importance. So.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly, and I don't know if anybody knows how we want to proceed. Robert, have you had discussion with your staff on?
Yes, we spoke briefly about it. Probably more than anything from the event provider, it'd be nice to hear what they envision this year's event to look like and how you envision it being different from prior years. I know that from a health department standpoint, we're always trying to encourage the social distancing and downsizing of those potential risks and so forth. And I think across the state, you're seeing a lot of decrease in volumes in participants in these events. So from the event promoter, kind of like to hear how they envision this year looking. Will it look the same, or are you looking at doing an abbreviated version of it this year?
Well, my name's Mike Hom. I'm president of Sand and Sage Rifle and Pistol Club, also the chairman of the Collective Show Committee. We've had a really tough time trying to decide what we want to do this year. With the way the current status is of coronavirus, we feel like we're good citizens of the community, and we usually pack a lot of people in that building for 2 days. And with the way everything's going, we just don't feel like we can have a show like that, and even with masks, and there's people that always don't follow the rules, be able to social distance in that building is like good luck. And if you cut a number of people coming in that building to where you can do that, I don't think it'll work, because we depend on the numbers for the income that we make off of that. Plus, you know, I worry about our concessions. What do we do with our concessions? Our vendors. We've had a lot of vendors that are cutting down just because of the economics of what's going on in the gun world right now. I've seen all kinds of different things. Sky high, everything has just went out of sight. Prices, with the way the elections went and all of that. It's been going on ever since the first of the year. I saw a deal the other day, as of November, end of November, I think the ATF or the FBI did 35.7 million background checks already this year. And not all of those are for firearms. They could be for different things. I talked to some of the exhibitors. They have, a lot of them don't have any product. It's all sold out. So, and it's not that we do, you know, our show has a lot of gun dealers, you know, a lot of ammunition dealers. You can't get reloading components. You can't buy ammunition. It's just not out there. So we don't really know what to do about this. I think as a citizen of the, you know, county, whatever, I don't want to get people sick from coming to our show. You know, I don't want to, okay, we had 5,000 people come to our show, and then all of a sudden we've got a hot spot, and we're spreading this stuff more than what it is. I've already had coronavirus once. I really don't want to have it again. So, you know, that's a big moral dilemma too. You know, we depend on the show to make money, to be able to do improvements at our range. That's why we do it. We've spent, probably in the last 5 years, we did $70,000 worth of dirt work one summer. So that took a big chunk out of what we had. We were hoping to have a few good years, you know, to make up that money so we could start doing some other things. You know, we had a snowstorm 2 gun shows back that killed us one day. So I don't know really what to do. I want the gun club to do well and whatever, but there again, we don't want to spread this virus stuff around either and make it worse than it already is. That's where we're at. We're kind of in a dilemma. We can get by without the show this year. We've raised our dues this year to kind of give us a little bit more operating capital. But, you know, it's kind of in jeopardy. We want to make a decision quick because we haven't bought our insurance yet. Usually by now I've already applied for our insurance. So that's kind of where we stand. We really don't know I have a feeling, my personal opinion is to do the right thing is not to have the show. Because I really don't think they're going to have enough vaccines and stuff out, even in the first quarter, to make a dent in what's going on. But that's my opinion.
Mike, I appreciate your being here today and appreciate what Sand and Sage does for the community, but I probably am one of the guilty parties sitting here at the commission dais that questioned the size of groups we have meeting at Fairgrounds. And your gun show comes to mind as one of the biggest. I don't know of many more that pack more people in over a two-day period, but until my leaning in being cautious is until we get an immunization program that is proven and a positivity rate down to nothing almost, that we need to scrub some of these bigger shows. And I realize it's tough on you guys, but along with your show, how is your organization dealing with the new gun range and whatnot? Are you not a part of that?
We are.
And do you have some funding obligations in that, or is it simply?
We gave an initial amount of money to help design the new range. The college and us went into partnership with the city.
Okay, how about canceling a gun show for February? Isn't that when it is? And say, when we open the gun range, we invite everybody to come and get in line and take a tour, and we'll solicit a little contribution. I'm being somewhat facetious, but I really am reluctant to say I would bless having 5,000 people show up for a gun show, and frankly, with the politics the way they are this year, you may have more than 5,000 show up looking for a gun.
Right. I understand. You know, I don't know. The more and more I look at it, it just doesn't look like it's going to be feasible to have it. We've got vendors that are probably, we've already started taking vendors in, because it's business as usual until we say no. We don't even have half our vendors in yet. So, I don't know. My personal opinion is I would love to have it for the gun show, for the club, because we make our money to do whatever, but to be a good partner in the community and whatever, it's probably not a good thing to have.
And I'm going to miss.
That's my opinion.
I'm going to miss your sloppy joes if you don't have a show.
Yeah,
so
I know. I don't know. It's yeah. Well, I always go for the chicken and noodles, every year, So, but I don't know. I'd really love to have it, but it's with the atmosphere that's going on right now and some of the new strains that they say that could be coming out, that I don't know. It's just first quarter of this next year just seems like it's going to be a wash. I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, one last question. Angie, you have some alternative dates, I would bet, that if they would say, okay, instead of having a February show, let's put that on hold and let's see where COVID goes and have a late in the fall show, we could probably accommodate a 3-day period for them to set up a show, could we not?
We would try our best to try. That's certainly something we'd be willing to. It's amazing. We actually try to keep that building pretty busy. I mean, I was talking to someone on the phone earlier, and the available dates for a wedding reception, we were looking, the earliest available date was November. So we work hard at keeping that building busy. But yes, by all means, we are always willing to reschedule, and we did a lot of rescheduling last year. So,
while you're up there, Angie, must stay there. It's my understanding also that you've guaranteed the club that same weekend date for the following year.
by all means, yes. We do that with all of our annual customers. If you're an annual customer at the fairgrounds, you have the option to keep your date from year to year. That's a given. We appreciate all of our community event sponsors that continue to have reoccurring annual events. So by all means, we have several of those, and no matter what happens with these type of Mother Nature situations, we're going to make sure they get to keep their dates from one year to the next.
Okay, and to follow up with that, the club is one of our major ones. The Better Home and Living show is another major show, which we probably need to cancel. But there's quite a few in the list that's 300 to 400, 500. What is that a comfortable number? Are you okay with 500 in the exhibition building. Is that a comfortable number? Is that still too much?
Yes, I would like to, I am not a health expert. I don't really feel that I mean, you can do the math. I mean, it's all about the math. I mean, 2,885 is the total capacity for the building, and divide that by 6, and that gives you an approximate number. It's really what Colleen thinks is the right number. And given, you know, how many people come and go, and I mean, we've done a lot. I mean, kudos to everyone for the touchless sinks, the touchless soaps, the touchless hand sanitizers. I mean, we've really kept right up with the trends of trying to do everything we can to keep people safe while they're there, and we're very appreciative of all that.
Well, granted, the 500 is not there all at the same time, but Colleen, would you have comment on, from the health department's perspective?
So currently there's not any like magic number or percentage wise of occupation. There's other factors that kind of come into play here. So yes, adequate sanitation, washing hands, wearing masks, socially distancing, ventilation and airflow within the building, those types of things all make an impact on the possibility, as well as, yes, general numbers of population traveling through the same location or same building at the same time. So thinking of, yes, anywhere between a third and a quarter of total maximum capacity would behoove you to consider.
Using that philosophy, then 500 would be a comfortable number. Put the stipulation on mask and all that good stuff. So other than our two major events, the rest of these folks with some restrictions can carry on with their events. Is that what you're?
Right. So, I mean, you're looking at there's still an increased risk of transmitting COVID-19. There's just less of an increased risk. So it's whatever risk you would like to take. Fewer numbers of people going through common spaces, all in one gathering space at the same time without masks, with masks on. Those types of variables all will impact that ability to transmit. You could do symptom checks, temperature checks. There's a variety of other things that can be done, as well as just asking people if they do have any symptoms to not attend the event.
I was listening to 457's board meeting the other night, and aren't they at 35% of capacity?
Yes, sir.
That's their kind of thumb rule. It would be this is my personal opinion. It'd be my opinion that we say, here's what the capacity of the room is, and here's 35%. Just say that's a round number that we're going to use. And if you want to have more than that, the onus is on you, whoever's holding the event, and takes us out of the process.
Robert, this is a county building. We have county mandated mask. Does that carry over to this building as well?
It does.
That's what I was saying, you know, here's our recommendation, and we follow all of the procedures that we have set up in the county. But if your activity you think is going to exceed that, then it's your decision and not the county's.
Well, Mr. Chairman, that kind of falls in line with, I guess I'm just a confused person this morning. I was confused on some of the spark money, because I'm hearing Sand and Sage say they're not likely to have this event. So I guess, you know, my question is, who's canceling the event? Is it the county or is it the event sponsor? And secondly, has the event sponsor given a deposit or something? Then I think we have a question. If they cancel, do we give that deposit back? And I don't know the answer, you know, whether there is a deposit or not. But I think, you know, who's canceling and so forth. So I'm in line with what Larry is suggesting, that we say 35%, you know, capacity, and then that's that's what they have to abide by. And then that gives them the the guidance, if they will, on whether or not they can hold the event. And in this case, it looks like Sand and Stage probably wouldn't be able to hold that event because of their projected numbers.
So
And you would-
anyone that has paid a deposit this whole year, we have worked with everybody. If they paid their deposit and their usage fees up front and they had to cancel because of COVID, we made sure those were promptly refunded when they told us that they were canceling. We always tried our best to reschedule anytime we could, and we have rescheduled a lot of events, and then it came right down to probably 3 weeks before, and a lot of them still had to be canceled in the first 2 quarters. So just to kind of give you guys an update, by all means, anything that we have received, if the cancellation or if it's canceled because of COVID, it gets refunded. Just that easy.
Then, Mr. Chairman, my other follow-up question, this would be to Angie. Has there been any communication with the home, I'm not seeing it here on my list right now, that one in March, I think it is, for the home products, or?
I have visited with them on the home show, and when I last spoke with them, you know, they're hoping, they're optimistic that they would really like to have a show. Last year was the first year they wanted to branch out and use part of our parking lot because they had a lot of vendors that were wanting to set up outdoor events on the parking lot. So that one is the end of March. You know, I don't know if we can see how things go if the vaccination gets out and there's still maybe a chance. Is the limited number, could they maybe spread their show hours out to where they might be able to accommodate the numbers per day, possibly, if they had their show hours extended a little bit, maybe. I'm just looking at ideas to think a little bit differently. Because I think it showed with the reverse parade, people are looking for safe things that they can do. We want what's best for everybody. We want to keep everybody healthy. I appreciated Colleen's idea on encouraging event sponsors to ask people as they enter if they're experiencing any symptoms. I think we all know, you read the signs, but if there's an actual person there asking, you might have some reconsider versus if they just, you know, rushed in and didn't really read the sign on the door. If there was someone there actually asking genuinely, that might be a suggestion we could offer to our event sponsors.
Well, just looking at the list that scrolling by here, most of these are pretty small numbers and would probably follow under the. So this here again, it's just my suggestion that after I heard what 457 was doing at 35%, I just mentioned that's kind of where our threshold is, and if you want to exceed it, here's our mask rules and our sanitation rules, but if you're exceeding these processes, we're not going to be responsible.
I think I'd be a little tougher. I would put in the sanitation rules, 35% for 90 days. We'll relook at it at 90 days or something like that, but I think we need to give direction as a commission, a specific direction in the form of a motion that this is the way it's going to be. And honestly, looking at the list, like you said, it's only the 2 unfortunate people, it's Sand and Sage and the Better Home and Living. The rest of them probably should meet guidelines, but I think we need a direct action and give guidance.
You want a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I do.
I move that we put a 35% suggested limit on our facilities at the fairgrounds, and anybody that exceeds the recommendations, that's their onus.
I would put a time limit on it as well.
Well, let's go till end of March.
Point of clarification, and then I second. You're talking about 35% of the rated capacity as per fire department regulations? Yes. Okay, I'll second that.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Motion's carried. That gives you a little more guidance, I hope. You've kind of already come to that agreement, Mike, I believe, anyway, so as a member of the gun club, I'm going to miss the show, but I think it's a wise move that.
We still have to vote on it.
Well, we've just kind of put the onus on you with the 35% limit on the building. So,
Thank you, guys. Merry Christmas.
thanks, Angie. Okay, Roger, you've been patiently waiting. You have 5 or 6 items here on our list for us. Are you doing the future energy, or is that Robert?
No, I didn't even know it was on the agenda, so I guess it's Robert.
Well, I started to read that 75 pages, but I didn't get very far through it, so. Thanks, Mike. Jerry?
I believe all they have done is provided an evaluation and an updated cost analysis, if you will, for you.
Thanks. Got told. So it sounds like they've completed their audit, and they also had a list of fixtures that they found to be non-operational. And then there was an agreement for the rebate or,
Well, that's the way I read it. The non-operational fixtures, once corrected, would change the rebate formula both to the company, and that's what this is all about, correct?
Correct.
that's my understanding, and I apologize. I struggle with this particular vendor because sometimes it all goes through Roger and we don't know anything, and now this time it's come to us and he doesn't know anything, so I think we need to get some.
Shall we table this one till somebody has a chance to glance at this thing, and there's 70-some odd pages worth of material here?
Yes, I would suggest if we could table it, we can act upon right after the first of the year. I don't think there's going to be any loss in that.
Mr. Chairman, I move we table future energy solutions till our January meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. 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 Motion's carried. I thought you got credit for future energy solutions agreement.
Didn't know the fairgrounds was on there, so got me flat-footed. Okay, what's first? CMA sand, I think, is first on your list. We, of course, like we do every year, requested bids for sand, CMA sand gravel, to be used on our roadways. We opened these bids Wednesday, December 2nd. I think you've got all the bids at your desk there. And we'd like to, what do I keep hearing? Oh. Pardon? This is per ton, yes. It's relatively close, yes, yeah. In fact, I think it's the same. I think it's, yeah. We had, we sent out invitation to bid to 3 different companies. Huber and Klotz are the only ones that actually bid on it. $15.50 is what that sand came back as.
Mr. Chairman, I would offer a motion to approve the bid from Huber Sand at $15.50 per ton.
Second.
Discussion? Question? Delivery, have they been pretty good?
It's delivered to the Bruno.
Better than me. I ordered sand 18 months ago and I still haven't got it, so
You gotta tell them who you are.
maybe that was the problem. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
All right, gentlemen, same thing on the road sealing project. We're doing about 42 miles this year for road sealing. Same contractor came in low this year as did last year, B&H Paving at $560,000, $555 and $13. They do a real good job. So that's my recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the B&H paving bid.
And I would second that, and just one quick comment, just again, for the public watching, B&H is someone we've worked with for some time.
Yeah,
in the past.
B&H is actually, it's about as local as you can get for this type of work, and we have the utmost confidence in them, yes.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to accept B&H Paving's bid, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion's carried.
Okay, same thing for the mill. We mill 1 inch and overlay 2 inches. It'd be 9 total miles on the 6-mile road. I do have a map. It's basically the 6-mile road from Bigelow to Jenny Barker. Is that right? No, that's more than.
Yeah, that's, I believe that's what the map said.
Okay.
That's the one that had the circle on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the ceiling map there. But it's all a 6-mile up there. We had a lot of traffic on it with that detour, and it actually bumped 6 mile ahead in the project list, because we do have other issues like South Old 83 that's, then we have the bridge south of Holcomb. We need to do some work with those. Both those are really high on the priority list, but the traffic due to that project bumped this up ahead of the others. So that's why we went with this. Any questions?
Well, if you're ready.
Mr. Chairman, I'll offer the motion to approve that bid.
Second.
No.
Yeah, 50% from BRMP fund and 50% from Special Highway Fund. Total is $1,215,028.
Is this, okay, I'm slightly confused. Is this bid for Ventura or for Klotz?
Klotz.
Okay, that's what I thought, okay. All in favor of approving the Klotz sand bid, $1,215,028? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried.
Just an FYI, we do have that high-risk rural road striping project coming. So we're gonna push all our contractors to finish up early this year, so we're not gonna overlay new striping. It's gonna be a challenge to get that worked out, but that's what our goal is. Transfers. Recommend $20,000 for noxious weed from their budget to the noxious weed capital reserve. All these budgets are to finance capital expenditures in one way or another. $20,000 from noxious weed, $200,000 from road and bridge, and $275,000 go into special highway.
Finney County Road and Bridge Fund to the Finney County Special Equipment Fund.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept Resolution 2920 for $200K.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
So resolution number 30-2020 is to transfer $275,000 from Finney County Road and Bridge Fund to the Finney County Special Highway Improvement Fund.
Mr. Chairman, so move.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving Resolution 30-2020, signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carried.
The next one is resolution number 31-2020.
And that's to transfer the sum of $20,000 from the Finney County Noxious Weed Fund to the Finney County Noxious Weed Capital Outlay Fund.
Mr. Chairman, so move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 31-2020. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. Bill's back. Didn't know that.
Back on, thanks.
Okay, and this actually probably needs reworded, I suppose, or amended. It says hereby authorize the Finney County engineer to dispose of the following described records. We don't have are we hiring an engineer? Do we have an engineer?
At this point in time, we'll be looking at consultants initially.
I didn't know if you wanted to. The actual resolution says authorized by the Finney County engineer, so I didn't know how you wanted to handle that. Yes.
So would you like to approve this resolution with an amendment to authorize the Finney County Director of Public Works?
That's what I would recommend, and I would move that we do so, that the Director of Public Works be authorized to dispose of the records older than 2016.
Noted in resolution number 32-2020.
And include that resolution number.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve 32-22 resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried.
Have a great day. Merry Christmas.
What do you hear from Riley County? Did he get moved?
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, I've talked to him several times. Living the dream.
Roger, one other question, Farmland Road easements. Have those all been purchased or?
No, sir. There's one that we thought we were going to wrap up that kind of went sideways. So we're still, the gentleman wants to start charging us for violating contracts, so we may have to get legal involved in this heavily. So, yeah, you know, was it 2 weeks ago? Everything, I think, was, we were going to get this signed and going down the road, but it kind of went sideways, so legal's going to get involved.
Okay, and we, just for Commission's clarification, then that project cannot be let until those are all secured, just as a reminder.
And I'm continuing to talk with KDOT about some other issues in that area too, on entrances and whatnot. So.
Do you have a guesstimate on how much time this is going to take?
No, sir. I don't have any idea. The meeting, I think there was 2 different meetings set up, and the individual didn't show up to either meeting. So we don't know. I don't know.
Larry?
Last meeting, we had a question on the road north of High Plains Liquid Feed. What is that? Is that Sherlock?
Sherlock?
Yeah.
The west of it?
The truck usage in there. Have you had any success in speaking to the folks at High Plains or?
Actually, no. I do know, I've done some background on that, and I guess when that was originally put in, they paved that road from Railroad north past them, and that would allow them to come out and access Railroad and go, but now they're coming out and going north. I guess this is kind of a handshake deal, so I don't know how much luck we're going to have. You know, I will talk to them, but I don't know how much luck we're going to have them going around as opposed to cutting north.
Well, my suggestion would be to talk to them and also talk to the sheriff's department, and if need be, we can change the designation or usage on that road like we did on farmland.
Yeah, I have talked to the sheriff's office about it, about the illegal dumping out there. There's some of that going along that road. And I have the operators paying a little closer attention to it. It does get a lot of truck traffic, right or wrong.
Well, as far as using the road, that's probably the option, but you would think them emptying traps or something, there should be some kind of a ordinance stopping that right there.
Oh, I'm sure there's just catching them. I mean, you know how it is. They takes 10 minutes to empty a trap at tops, you know. So they just have to be in the right place at the right time, but I have talked to Greg about this, so.
Anything else for Roger? Thank you. You tried to leave once before. Merry Christmas. Anybody have anything on board governance? If not, Robert, and if you would like to elaborate more on our Sparks discussion, feel free. Some of your ideas and stuff on that.
Sure. As you know, going through end-of-year processes, and Dory in the clerk's office, her crew is doing a lot of reconciliation on the Spark project and the expenditures on that, so we can hone in exactly where the county will end up on those funds. As of the afternoon of Friday, we were at that $1.3 million mark. There will be a few projects that are not going to get quite completed. Very, very few. And they'll be eligible for the partial payment because they are still operational, but they're not just quite completed. In essence, then, the excess money then will go in to the wage line items and then paid out when they're completed. The other thing is that we're working on year-end transfers. As you heard, Public Works had 3 of them, but we're working on some of the other departments for year-end transfers as well. That's in essence finding out where they're at year-end on their expenditures, making sure on the fund level that we are in position for the year 2022. Not 21, but 22. We're working on that process already. As you recall, we did have the auditors in last week. I'm sorry?
End of the year, well, I'm a county commissioner where I live.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Well, hello, Doc.
Okay.
How you doing? All right, Merry Christmas to you.
Dr. Clifford, you are not muted. You're picking up. Okay.
Thank you for that holiday greeting. All right, so you did hear that we had the auditors in for a day or two doing some preliminary work, and that will continue after the new year. So we'll just a lot of cleanup this time of year, as you can well aware. I think we're in a little bit better position than what we anticipated, and but not quite where we wanted to be with all the other strains going on. A lot of projects, as you can see, around the county that have been going on that is related to the Sparks project. I know that Public Works and Rex's crew have been doing exceptional jobs, as well as a lot of the other departments that have a lot of projects going on. As far as the first of the year, January 4th meeting, I believe that's correct, the 4th, that would be an ideal time to make a final determination on what initiatives you want to have happen with the monies that are transferred over from the Sparks funding. Keep in mind that Spark funding surplus was based upon a grant that we received from the fiber project, which was $1.8 million. So if we want to engage iParametrics, Jeff's group, for the household project. I will go ahead and get an estimate on that, and we'll get with Roxanne's group as well for outreaches and just continue on with that project if that's the desire of the commission. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Roxanne. I think the other thing that, as far as on transfers, I do need the authority of the Board of County Commissioners to go ahead and make those transfers at year end in order to make that happen on a timely basis. I can provide you then with a summary listing of what those transfers were. And keep in mind, we're transferring those monies into either one of two funds, your CIP fund, which is designed for major projects, and then your equipment reserve fund, which is designed for equipment replacement, vehicles, computers, those types of things. And that is in keeping with your inventory process that we started up earlier this year. I believe it was in February or March when we began that process. So we'll be following that guideline in order to make those transfers.
So move from or transfers into CIP or equipment fund, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, we've got a second discussion on that motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of granting Robert authority to do the transfers, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do you have any questions of me?
Just no questions, just a thanks for all you've done with this Sparks programs and all this extra. It's been quite a year. Appreciate all your efforts and your stand.
It has been quite a year, and you have quite a crew here that's put in an awful lot of time and effort to keep the county rolling.
Absolutely, we know that.
That's very commendable.
I could look over at Dorian's, hats off to you as well. I mean, you're not the only two, but you're the two I'm looking at, so thank you very much. I'm sure we have some commission reports. Let's skip them. Let's get into these executive sessions so that we can let some people get on their way. First off is an executive session for acquisition of real property, and I see Skylar's in the room, and I'm sure Skylar, Robert, and the commission, is that sufficient? Yes. Let's say 15 minutes, guys, do it. Okay.
I would move that we go into executive session according to KSA 4319B6 for the acquisition of real property discussion, and that we include Robert and Skylar.
Doctor, do we have Zoom capabilities in that room? Can't keep up with that boy. We have a motion, had a second. All in favor of the executive session signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye.
And it was for 15 minutes. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
All opposed? Motion carried. We shall return. hate to be long-winded, I didn't say that out loud.
Mr. Chairman, I move we go to executive session for 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Let's crowd it there, too.
Okay.
We'll try it.
Financial affairs.
And, no, I'm just So, the motion was to go into executive session for financial affairs, including the commissioners and Fay Trent, and with Great Plains Development and Robert Reese, and I think you said the amount of time was 20 minutes? Oh, and Dory, oh, okay, and Dory, and I would second that motion.
Aye.
Okay, we're out of executive session and no action is taken. Key my mic. Commission reports. Let's start with Lon today.
I really don't have anything. And is that short enough?
Wow. I'm impressed. Dave?
I had, sorry about that. Can you hear me? I had a library board meeting a month ago. They had one tonight. It is canceled. Then I had a Finney County Committee on Aging meeting, and it was strung out all over because part of it was Zoom, part of it was in person, part of it was in that office because of the computer would work in there and so on. They had one this week. I missed it. I missed the Planning Commission meeting, so I'm falling down, guys. Did attend John Ellerman's reception, and that's about it, so.
So basically, you had no report?
No report.
Okay. I had a Great Plains meeting earlier this week and numerous Sparks meetings and meetings with Robert over the Sparks stuff, and that was pretty much it. Larry?
The only thing I have to report, I didn't make the Workforce One meeting in Great Bend, and I had several phone calls on our treasurer's behalf that the tax statements were late, and they were having a lot of problems with them, and one person was pretty upset over the process. So I told them to make sure and contact the treasurer and express their complaints, and maybe we'll do better next time.
I can tell you that the reason they were late was not Finney County. We were waiting on values from another county for a shared district. And we got them out as quickly as we could once we got the information. So we do apologize, but.
Well, that's good to know, because so when I'll follow up with those people that call me and tell them that that was the main problem. Okay, thanks.
That is why they were late, yes.
Mr. Chairman, along Larry's line, the concern, I did have a call from a person in real estate, and I didn't realize how complicated things got, but she's waiting for the Pawnee Watershed District to get their assessment in. She had something sold and could not close on it, and would kind of wanted the commission off of that sale. And so I called Dory, and I guess I got it worked out in pretty short order, but it did make a mess for real estate sales.
Yeah, it was all related to that shared district. So Hodgman County is the home county, and they rely on getting values from a number of other counties, I believe 9 other counties. And so they have to have all of those before they can issue a levy. And she was ended up waited on Pawnee County in order to do that, and it was very late getting that to us, so.